The next few minutes could completely change how you see your own mind. Because the truth is, you're not tired of life. You're tired of fighting monsters you can't see. And that's exactly what we are going to expose today. The 5 mental monsters that are preventing you from living the life you truly can be. Perhaps you think it's just a lack of focus, motivation, or discipline, but it's not. What really holds you back are invisible patterns that make you repeat the same mistakes, the same excuses, and the same cycles until you believe that this is just the way you are. And that's a lie. I know this because I lived exactly like that, pretending to be okay while everything inside me screamed for change. It was when I understood these monsters that my story began to change. And that's what will happen to you today if you have the courage to keep watching. Have you ever felt like the days are passing by too quickly, but at the same time, nothing seems to change? You wake up, grab your phone, see the same notifications, take that automatic look at social media, and before even having coffee, you already feel the exhaustion of a day that hasn't even started. Then work, traffic, the same tired look in the mirror. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Halloween is over, but the monsters are still chasing you. And one of the most treacherous is the routine zombie, the one that makes you believe it's okay to live on autopilot. You try to convince yourself it's normal. After all, everyone lives like this. But think about it. When was the last time you did something for the first time? When was the last time you felt excited when you woke up, without needing coffee, without depending on a screen to distract you? The routine zombie doesn't arrive suddenly. It infiltrates slowly. One day you give up on exercising, the next you postpone a dream, and when you realize it, later has already become never. It doesn't attack you forcefully, it lulls you to sleep comfortably. You start repeating phrases like, I don't have time, life is too hectic, I'll do it someday. But that day never comes. And deep down, you feel a silent unease, an emptiness that neither work, nor distractions, nor endless scrolling can fill. It's your potential knocking at the door, asking you to wake up. But the routine zombie is clever. It convinces you that resting is always better than growing, that change is dangerous, that it's okay to settle. And so, without realizing it, you survive, but you don't live. Think about it. How many incredible ideas have you had that you never put into practice? How many times have you dreamed of learning something new, but given up because now is not the right time? That's the power of this monster, making you confuse stability with stagnation. And it's at this point that life loses its color.
You wake up without purpose, work without pleasure, and go to sleep without feeling like you've advanced even a single step. It's like being trapped in an invisible loop, reliving the same day in different bodies. But the truth is, the zombie only takes over when you stop questioning. The simple act of asking yourself, is this really what I want to live? Is already a spark of awareness. And that spark can turn into fire if you allow it. Because when you awaken, you begin to perceive other monsters lurking. They feed precisely on this emotional slumber, waiting for the right moment to surround you. And one of them, the most insidious of all, whispers in the dark whenever you think about changing. What if it goes wrong? Have you ever noticed how fear rarely shouts? It whispers. Sometimes it comes in the form of doubt. What if it goes wrong? Other times, disguised as prudence. Perhaps it's not the right time. But deep down, what it wants is to paralyze you. And the worst part is that you believe those voices. How many opportunities have you let pass because something inside you told you you weren't capable? It's curious. Halloween passes and people get rid of their costumes, but that ghost continues to haunt you on ordinary days. Fear is a master of illusion. It creates stories in your head and convinces you they're real. Think about it. You have a plan, an idea, a desire, but before taking the first step, you already imagine yourself failing. You see people laughing, criticizing, judging, and what was just a possibility becomes a certainty. And then, without realizing it, you give up. That's how fear wins. Not when it knocks you down, but when it convinces you not to even try. It makes you feel safe inside the cage you built yourself. And the most curious thing is that often this fear doesn't come from the present. It comes from something that happened in the past, a rejection, a humiliation, a mistake that marked you. Since then, you've avoided any situation that could hurt you again. But avoiding pain also prevents growth. Fear protects you from falling, but it also prevents you from flying. And it's ironic because the same fear that paralyzes you today was what kept you alive back then. Only now, it no longer protects you, it imprisons you. Think about how many times you've had an amazing idea, but kept waiting for the perfect moment. It never comes, right? That's because fear will always invent another reason for you to postpone it. It's creative. When it can't use terror, it uses doubt. When it can't scare you, it convinces you to over rationalize. And in the end, you call what is actually pure self sabotage precaution. Fear loves to disguise itself as logic. But there's something fear can't stand: action. Every time you act, even trembling, the ghost loses strength. It thrives on your silence, your hesitation. And when you decide to face it, you realize it was never that big. It only seemed that way because you were looking from afar. But the problem is that after you face the fear, another monster appears. An even more subtle one wearing a smile and blending into your reflection in the mirror. It doesn't scare you, it seduces you. And its name is a social mask. This is one of the most insidious monsters that exist because, unlike the others, it doesn't appear to scare you. It appears to please you. It approaches with that silent desire to be accepted, to be recognized, not to be left out. And it is in this way, almost imperceptibly, that you begin to mold yourself. A comment here, a forced laugh there, an opinion you hide so as not to create discomfort. At first, it seems harmless, but when you realize it, you are already living an edited version of yourself. You start measuring every word, every gesture, every trait you show to others. You wear what pleases them, say what they expect to hear, and begin to live to fit into standards you don't even know who created. And the worst part is that the more you conform, the further you get from who you really are. It's as if, little by little, the mask sticks to your face. And when you try to take it off, you no longer know what's underneath. This is the trap of the social mask. It makes you believe that to be loved, you need to hide your flaws. But the price is high. Because every time you pretend to be okay, when in reality you're falling apart, a part of you is lost. And even when recognition, praise, or applause comes, none of that seems to fill the void. Because deep down, you know that it wasn't you who was accepted, it was the persona. And this is where the monster gains strength. It feeds on your insecurity, your fear of disappointing others, your fear of being alone. And the more you try to maintain appearances, the more it grows, to the point where you start looking in the mirror and no longer recognize yourself. But there comes a moment when something inside you gets tired. Tired of smiling when you want to cry, tired of pretending to be strong when you're falling apart, tired of trying to be what others expect. And this tiredness, however painful it may seem, is the beginning of freedom. Because it's in that moment that you begin to understand that the people who truly matter don't need a perfect version of you. They only need the real you, even if fragile, even if still being rebuilt. The social mask only loses its power when you choose to show your true self. When you decide that pleasing the whole world isn't worth the price of losing yourself. And perhaps that's the bravest thing anyone can do today is stop playing a role and finally go back to being who you are. The monster doesn't appear in the dead of night, nor in dark alleys. It's everywhere, sometimes disguised as a friend, a colleague, or even a thought. It's the one that slowly sucks your strength away, without leaving visible marks, but draining you from the inside. And the worst part is that most of the time, you don't even realize you're being drained. The energy vampire feeds on your attention. It thrives on small openings, conversations you have out of obligation, people who complain all the time, situations you accept even knowing they harm you. It infiltrates your day when you wake up already tired because your mind hasn't rested. When you spend hours scrolling through your phone, comparing, reacting, getting irritated by things that don't even concern your life. Every second you give to what doesn't nourish you, it grows stronger. And what it wants is simple, to leave you too exhausted to take care of what matters. It knows that when you're low on energy, everything seems heavier. Tasks become burdens, dreams lose their luster, and the slightest effort seems impossible. So you enter a cycle. You try to regain your energy with distractions, but they only drain you more. And the more you seek relief superficially, the deeper it pulls you in. But the most treacherous thing about this monster is that it also lives inside you. It manifests itself in thoughts that sabotage you, in unnecessary guilt, in worries that have no solution. It convinces you that you always need to be available, always productive, always responding to everything until your mind can't take it anymore. And when your body starts giving signals, you call it normal tiredness, without realizing that it's an exhaustion of the soul. The only way to weaken it is to set limits. And limits aren't selfishness, they're self-preservation. It's knowing that your energy is sacred and that not everything deserves your response, your time, or your presence. Because when you give yourself to everyone, there's very little left to take care of yourself. And without energy, even what is light becomes a burden. So maybe today is the time to be silent, to step away a little from the noise, the screens, the people who only drain you and never add anything. Recharging isn't laziness, it's strategy. Because only those with energy can change their own story. And if there's a monster that fears your awakening, it's this one. Because when you start protecting your energy, it simply ceases to exist. Have you ever noticed how some people always seem to be doing well? Always with a joke ready, always lighthearted, as if nothing could shake them. They make everyone laugh, transform any pain into humor, and say it's just a joke. But inside, there's a heavy silence. Perhaps this is your case. The clown of self-sabotage is the most smiling monster of all, because it hides behind the laughter that doesn't signify joy.
It presents itself to the world as the fun-loving, optimistic one, the one who takes everything in stride. But the truth is that this laughter is often a defense mechanism, a way of not having to face what's really happening inside you. You know how it is, right? Making light of everything so you don't have to explain anything, saying everything's fine when it's not, posting motivational quotes to try and convince not others, but yourself that you're at peace. It's the kind of laughter that comes from exhaustion, not joy. And deep down, you feel it. You feel that you're tired of pretending. But admitting that is hard because you've gotten used to being the strong one, the funny one, the one who never breaks down. So you joke about your own suffering as if laughing at it makes it smaller. But the ignored pain grows in silence. The danger is that the more you wear this mask, the more it sticks to you. One day, laughter becomes automatic. And when that happens, it's hard to know if you're still laughing ironically, out of habit, or because you've forgotten how to cry. The clown of self-sabotage convinces you that if you keep making others smile, maybe you can forget the weight you carry. But the problem is that in trying to distract others, you end up distracting yourself from yourself. And that's how he wins, keeping you too busy with the role he invented while your essence screams for help behind the curtain. And there's a dangerous aspect to all of this: waking up too late. Because there comes a time when the clown no longer knows where the character ends and the person begins. He looks in the mirror and no longer recognizes his face without the makeup. And what was once just a way to hide the pain becomes his own prison. That's why leaving this character requires courage. The courage to stop laughing when you want to cry. To accept that being human is not about being invincible. It's about falling, feeling, and still continuing. You no longer need to pretend to be okay to deserve love. You don't need to turn your pain into a spectacle to be accepted. But you need to decide whether to leave the stage before the audience goes home and you're left alone with the echo of your own jokes. Because the clown only stops haunting you when you have the courage to look him in the eye and say, "Enough. Now it's my turn to be real." The truth is, recognizing these monsters is already an act of courage. Few people have the strength to look at themselves and admit what's really going on inside. And if you've made it this far, it's because you're part of that minority. But know one thing: self-knowledge is not a destination. It's a journey. And no one can walk it alone for very long. This channel exists to remind you of that, to push you when your mind wants to stop, to make you see what you pretend not to see. So sign up, not for the numbers, not out of habit, but because amidst all the noise, you need a place that keeps you awake. Here, each video is a reminder not to revert to who you were when you started. See you in the next video.